What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Inside Lines podcast. I'm your host, Atoya Burleson.
And I am Tia Avril.
Coming up a bit later in the show, we'll be chatting with Stephanie Horton, the Global Consumer Marketing Director for Commerce at Google. We'll also be getting into our hot take this week, where we'll discuss the drama between Grammy Award winner artist Neo and his wife, Crystal Renee. But first, let's go back a little bit. Tia, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. This was the first week back of school. So, getting acclimated with the schedule. The kids are exhausted. But also for Xander, there's so many September birthdays, which, okay, random fact. I was listening to Robin Hood Snacks. Well, it used to be called Robin Hood Snacks. It's called Snacks Daily. And they just dropped a fun fact of this week is the most birthdays like in the country. I'm like, okay, so people were busy in December. Anyway, so there were so many kid birthday parties, 2 on Friday, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. I just had to start tapping out. And it was funny because one of the parents from Xander's class was like, you know what? We need to get the September and October birthday parents together. Let's just do one party because we're seeing each other at these same parties twice a day kind of thing. And just do one big shebang, rent out a trampoline park, laser tag, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to do that because Xander is October. And that means we're seeing these same people again.
Yes, there's only so many how you doings that you can give out. Real talk.
Right. Girl. And then, of course, sports. Xander has gotten into sports. So soccer, flag football. Just busy. Busy. How about you, Toy? How was your weekend?
Same, busy, but, in a good way. Mia she's kind of ramped up and started up with Nickelodeon now. So we were doing a little bit of stuff with that.
Okay, Mia.
Yes. So she'll be on Nickelodeon Slime Time, actually starting today and at 7:00 on Nickelodeon.
So when they hear it, they'll have it?
Yeah. So Wednesday, she has a little segment in there. So you have to check her out. Y'all cheer her on. And then I also did Fashion Week, which was amazing. Some really cool designers. And I think my favorite, I'm going to just be biased, is Victor Glamour. He was fantastic. He actually did his fashion show at Rockefeller Center Plaza, where they have it's in the winter, it's ice skating rink, but they started this summer doing a roller skating rink. So it was so fun. He had the fashion show going around the rink and, chairs lining it. It was so incredible. He was phenomenal. And Google actually hosted his after party. And it's kind of like a Shop with Google, Victor Glamour event. So you can, go on and find him on Shop with Google and shop him there. But you can also celebrate him in this after party. And when I say he is the best energy, he is so fun, so down to earth. And I can't wait I ran into him. We took a picture and I'm like, you have to come on the podcast. And he said he would. So I'm going to hold you to it, Victor. So fun times. There were so many amazing Black designers. But
what's his style?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So he did a lot of, which I love. He had this leopard bodysuit that was so bomb, but then he had almost like a cape flowing from it. And it just gave vibes of I'm somebody special. So his style is fitted, flowy, and fun for me. It's not yeah. So I feel and he loves color. So there's a girl that came out in this pink, same thing, kind of that similar flow to it. But my favorite was the leopard. I ain't gonna lie. That leopard, I'm I don't know where I'm gonna wear this to, but I need to get this.
But I'm aware. Yeah.
Yes. And I just liked, the vibe of the roller skaters kind of going through there while the fashion show is going on. Just made it fun. And it just kind of brought its own vibe for Fashion Week. So I love Fashion Week. I told myself next year, I'm not going to miss a day because it just kind of, with COVID, you forget. But yeah. I feel this year, I was okay, next year I'm about to go to X, Y, and Z. So we're going to start early.
Okay. So I'm going to join you because I've never experienced New York Fashion Week. So, and it usually happens during the US Open too. So I'm I need to do the US Open, do Fashion Week. Now, so question. Okay. So I know you said the Shop with Google or Google Shop partnered with them. So you were able to shop the pieces directly from the runway?
So no, you'd go into shop with Google. So because they hosted him, you can go in. It was kind of similar to, they were talking about where you can shop Black designers and they have those badges on Google. You can go in and you can shop those pieces. So all the runway pieces, everything that he, shows you, you could then go in and shop.
See, I was wondering about that because you know how with fashion, like when you do fashion shows, a lot of the pieces, they seem more artistic, like they're not available for purchase. So it sounds like his stuff was like, yeah, no, it's fashion, catwalk worthy, but you can also buy it.
Yeah, that's what I love about his. To your point of like, sometimes you be looking at stuff like, who gonna wear that? Where we wearing that to? Like, right. You're like, there's no way I'm going to wear that. It is about art. But his stuff, he was like, this is what I'm bringing for the fall, y'all. So get ready. And he does a really good job of like making things like, I feel like when you put on Victor Glamour's clothes, you're going to feel like somebody. You know what I'm saying? It's going to make you feel good about yourself. So to me, that's what he brings. It's not necessarily pieces that are like, okay, I'm going to buy this, but I don't know what I wear it to. It's stuff that you can kind of interchange. Like you could just wear that bodysuit with like a black coat. You know what I'm saying? You could wear that cape with something completely different with black underneath it, right? So there are pieces that you can kind of interchange, which I love. And yeah, his stuff is he's been around for so long. I'm just so glad he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves.
Oh, nice. Well, that's awesome.
Yes. All right. Enough about that, y'all. Let's get into this week's hot takes. All right, y'all. It's time for this week's hot takes. Tia, what we got?
Okay, so this week in Hot Takes, we are talking Grammy Award-winning artist Ne-Yo and his wife, Crystal Renee. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, Ne-Yo and Crystal have been married for 8 years. They have 3 kids together. Ne-Yo has 2 kids from a previous relationship. And I don't know if you remember, Toya, but at the top of COVID, Crystal and Ne-Yo filed for divorce. And then COVID hit and they were forced to like be together, stay together, whatever. And they reconciled, wrote a song about it, You to Love, the whole 9. And then a few months ago, they actually did a vow renewal in Las Vegas. Beautiful red roses, like gorgeous vow renewal. Well, last month, Crystal surprised us all. Well, I ain't gonna say surprised, but she let us all know that Ne-Yo has been cheating on her for basically 8 years. And not only that, but he also had a baby outside of their marriage. And so since then, she's been doing her little subliminals, like basically, I'm good. Like I'm not going to continue putting up with this. Well, Ne-Yo recently filed a motion with the court to basically ban Crystal from speaking about their divorce and their relationship in public. And so now I have a question. Atoya, do you think Crystal has the right to speak about their divorce and like things that took place during their marriage?
Okay, so I'm going to go back. This is twofold for me. I'm going to say no the first time because I feel like something like that, especially your marriage is very private and it's something that you have to work on within, whether it's good, bad, whatever it is. It's still something private, like you said, vows between the two of you. But the reason I say it's twofold is because I feel like she did that the first time. It was private. Nobody really knew what was going on. But this second time, y'all, Ne-Yo burned her and she let it all hang out. She was over it. She didn't care. She was done. So I understand why she did it this time. But the first time I feel like she did, but Ne-Yo ain't right. And he cannot tell her what to do after what he did. Real talk. What about you?
Okay. So I'm surprised that you say even with the second time, like you think it's okay. Cause you are a very private person. Not that you won't be vulnerable, be honest with whatever, but just like, that's not something you would typically do. So I thought you would be like, no, Crystal, you should not do that.
That's true.
Right.
I definitely still say no, but I understand, but go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so I think she got a right to tell whatever she want to tell because it's her story too, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
It's her story too.
That's true.
And granted, I do sometimes say, I'm going to contradict myself here. I do sometimes say, keep us out of y'all group chat because sometimes I'd be like, oh, it's going on for too long, right? Like you think Kanye, Kim, and Kris Jenner. I'm like, oh God, keep me out of it. Or even most recently, Ray J.
Too much.
We got to talk about this. Well, not right now, but Ray J, Kim Kardashian, like Ray J putting them on blast again. Get us out of y'all group chat.
That's another hot take.
Right. Exactly. But for Crystal, I think in general, like I said, it's her story to tell too. So if she wanted to tell all of it, she can. But if she wanted to keep it under wraps, she can as well. But I also hate when people like put everything on display. Of course, their highlights. Oh, we're so in love. We're the best. Yada, 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 yada. And then you don't hear the other side, right? So now you have people on social media glorifying your relationship, thinking it's, something almost to a point of deception. And yes, to a point of deception, like unattainability, but you don't talk about, okay, this is the another side of it. Like this issue's hard. This is what we're facing too, Now I am not a fan of like slandering your spouse in the way of like, oh, this B didn't do this, or he's a terrible father. I don't like that kind of stuff, but just sharing your story as in we didn't work out because of infidelity. I'm okay with that.
And she could have said a lot more. Let's be clear. She could have said a lot more because I probably would have had a few more words after finding out what happened. I was like, wait, he made a whole baby? So, yeah, I see both sides. I understand why she didn't say anything the first time because maybe she did think there was hope. But I think after that baby, she was like, and I'm out. There's nothing more to talk about. I have nothing more to say to you. This is it for me. So.
Now, I wonder when this whole baby situation, like where does it play out in the timeline? Because my question is, okay, so did she just now find out that he had a baby or that, the girl is pregnant? Because like I said, they just done the vow renewal. Or if she knew, she was just hoping that maybe the baby wasn't his and the DNA test revealed that it was. So I'm going to stay tuned to this group chat and because I want to know that part.
That's the twist. That's like a movie right there.
Yeah, for real. Because sometimes women can handle infidelity, and they feel like, okay, we can handle this in our relationship. Like we can reconcile and work through this. But then when you start adding other variables, like, okay, and you got a baby mama, and it's yours, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I don't know.
We've seen people on both sides. They deal with it. They deal with the baby mama or the extra baby. And there's other people that was like, no, I did not sign up for that. I didn't sign up for 3 of us. I'm good.
Right. Yeah.
We have to poll everybody and we need to know what they think.
Yeah. Let us know if y'all think they need to keep us out of the group chat. Or if you feel like Crystal has the right to share her story because it's hers, let us know on SpeakPipe. Our SpeakPipe is speakpipe.com/insidelines. Or send us a message on Instagram.
All right, y'all. That's it for this week's Hot Takes. Coming up next, our conversation with Stephanie Horton. On the show today, we have the Global Consumer Marketing Director for Commerce at Google. She's a 25-year veteran of the luxury fashion and marketing communities, working with both domestic and international brands like Shopbop, Farfetch, Vogue, and Alexander Wang, to name a few. She is a leading executive in the global fashion industry, and if there is anything you want to know about the fashion world, Stephanie is definitely your girl. Stephanie Horton, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Atoya. So happy to be here.
Thanks for coming on. We're excited to have you.
Yes.
So let's get right into it. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's definitely been a working summer. I think we all got used to kind of the COVID, working, but, a little more relaxation summer. So I think this summer it was definitely like back to work. So I'm good, but, there's a lot going on.
Okay, so you just mentioned that real quick. So, during COVID, that was everybody's realization that, okay, maybe work-life balance is not actually balanced. Maybe it's too far, to the work. But to your point, now that you're getting back into the swing of things, like how are you maintaining some of that like self-care and routine and things that you had before, but still intermingling the expectation that, everything is back?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think the good news is post pandemic, most of us are on 3-day work weeks. And while some people are like, oh, I can't go back to, I'm like, we used to work. I used to work 7 days, you know what I mean? So like this 3 days, I'm like, okay, it really gives me time on Mondays and Fridays to kind of, still work, but be at home and regroup a little bit and make sure I work out and do all the things that I love to do. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I just go hard. So I feel like, this new normal kind of works for me, just because maybe I was probably an extremist in the whole, like, when we were working 5 days, I was probably working 7. So, I do say though, now I do set more boundaries and I'm like, okay, if this is like an off day, I'm going to try and be off.
So Google works Monday through Thursday?
Well, we have a 3-day work week. So our, my particular team, we work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And of course, if we need to, we work Monday and Friday from home. I mean, I work Monday and Friday, but just not in the office from home.
Well, it's Fashion Week coming up. So is this like a crazy time for you with Google? And, you lived in the fashion world. So tell us about that.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's good to see, first of all, Fashion Week back. I mean, because again, for the past couple years with COVID, it's, it was really not happening. And I think just with the cyclical nature of fashion, I think too, even before COVID, a lot of things were skewing away from New York into London, Paris, and Milan. So it's good to see like Fendi's having their show here, in a couple of days. Edward Enninful's coming. He just released his amazing book, which actually I'm interviewing him on Friday at the Google store. He's the editor-in-chief of British Vogue. So there's a lot of cool things that are, Vogue's doing something big next Monday. So I feel like, we're back in force, which is great. And yeah, I mean, we're definitely doing a lot. There's today, actually, the Harlem Fashion Row show, which, I always support Brandis, is happening. We're actually doing something with Victor Glamond, the designer. So doing some social media and promotion around his show and also a little cocktail party. So yeah, I mean, there's lots going on and, fun stuff. And, happy to be able to support some of the really great Black designers that we have as well.
So, okay, let's talk about that because I remember going to Harlem Fashion Row last year and Brandis had this amazing idea of going back to kind of where it started and doing everything right there on her stoop. And I thought that was so cool and so creative. Everyone was outside, so they felt safer, right? And all of these Black designers that I had never heard of got to walk the runway, show what they designed. And I was like, how do we get this out there more? Because I thought it was so cool. What is Google doing like in regards to that? Because I know you mentioned you guys are doing a little bit right now.
Yeah, we're doing a couple of things. I mean, last year we actually teamed up with Aurora James and 15% Pledge. So we're doing a big partnership with them. So basically all of the designers, actually businesses, not even just fashion designers in her database, we've been training, giving digital training on how to get discovered, and how to be just more digitally astute businesses. Because, obviously, I think, we know that brick and mortar is important, but if you don't have some sort of digital presence, it's hard. So we've been doing that. And then just during Black Business Month, which was August, we actually highlighted a few Black designers in their database and built a site and kind of profiled the founders, and did a lot around social media. So we've been doing a lot, with partnerships to try and surface it. We also do have on Google a Black-owned badge. So you can actually filter by Black-owned to find, businesses that are Black-owned, whether they be even fashion, beauty, home, whatever. So we've been doing a lot of things along those lines to try and really promote and really just uplift Black businesses. We also last year, we partnered with Amex and did murals in 3 cities, which highlighted local businesses. Yeah, that were shoppable with Google Lens. We did Chicago, New York, and LA.
That is so dope. I did not know this. And let's talk about the badge. How do people find this when you go into Google and you're searching?
So when you go into Google and you're in the shopping, in shopping, you tap shopping, there's a Black-owned badge that you can filter by.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's women-owned. There's there's lots of different ways to kind of shop your way or your values on Google.
So you've held several different roles, executive in many companies. How have you navigated the space, just being a woman of color, in a space where there's not a lot of women of color, and the challenges and things like that that you have faced?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely been about the work. So I feel like it's a cliche, but, you do have to work really hard. I think there's always that, I've been asked to get coffee. I've been asked like when lunch is coming. I'm like, I'm actually running the meeting, so it definitely, and especially in the fashion industry, I feel like, there's a lack of just people of color actually in high profile positions. I mean, even Edward in his book, I think we both worked at Vogue, ironically, during the same years, like 2005 to 2011. And I think Edward, myself, and Andre were probably, during most of my tenure, like the only Black people there. Like they're definitely like during that 2005, 6, 7. I feel like it was us, and then definitely other people started coming. But I think you definitely feel the need to prove yourself. I think you definitely something I've corrected now that, I think I'm more confident, but I think I used to overcompensate with like, I've done this and I went to this school and and just trying to prove my value and like
wearing all your accomplishments on your shoulders.
Exactly. But, that can be really obnoxious. So you have to learn to dial things back. So I think definitely overcompensation was something that I had to get over. You definitely, I think for me, it's all about delivering results. So that's been something that, when I get a new job, I quickly assess what needs to be done and where the low-hanging fruit is so I can put points on the board. But I think you probably look at things really differently than others who start the same job, because I think you still feel the need to really prove that, you got this job or you're here because you deserve it and not because of a diversity hire or, whatever.
That's so true. I always when I talk to people, they say, I always feel like I have to work that much harder. She's like, I don't feel like I get the same amount of oh, that's okay. We'll let that slide. So you have to not only work hard, but be on your P's and Q's about everything, So you hear that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just was talking to a friend actually, and she told me a story about a guy who, he really missed the mark on several fronts. And after doing that, he was given the choice of okay, you can either consult. He was given choices. I feel like if that had been me, there would have been no choices, and probably 3 steps before that, they would have been you're difficult to work with. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's just a different, it's definitely a different standard. Yeah.
I want to go back. Let's talk about, because you've been in the fashion world for 20 plus years, and that is very rare. And not only that, is it something that you've loved since you were younger? How did you get started in the fashion world?
I actually never intended. I was I have a finance background and in banking.
I love these stories.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had no intention of working in fashion. I was, finance undergrad, went and worked in consulting and banking, went to business school with the intention of, coming out and, being an associate, at a bank somewhere. And midway through business school, I think I was I think I'm better at the executive summary than I just don't think this is my thing. I don't really want to work at a bank. I think I'm better at assessing issues, understanding where we need to go with it, and applying what needs to be done. So I actually started out in advertising after business school and worked at an agency as head of new business. And back then, I'm going to date myself, I was I launched the Cadillac Escalade, the Audi A8, so I was doing a lot of, we did a lot of partnerships with the then newly opened Delano Hotel in Miami. And actually, Holly Robinson Pete, we partner with her on, the show that she does every year to benefit, her charity. And, I think that was the first time that I was oh, wow, partnerships really work. If you get like-minded brands together, you can really grow and expand, how people look at, a certain brand. So I think my entry was more partnerships and how to grow a business and how to create new revenue streams. And I ended up just applying that. Like I moved to New York, and ended up working at Gotham magazine, and I got that job because I was buying advertising for Audi in Hamptons. And Jason Ben, who owned the magazine, was like, I'm launching this new magazine called Gotham. I also have Hamptons. I'm going to launch LA Confidential. I want you to come run marketing. And I was kind of like, all right. So, there I was. And I think that was probably the first taste because a lot of the clients were all fashion brands. And then I kind of took a step back, went to the New York Times after that in strategic planning, but still I helped do all the diligence to launch Thursday Styles, as well as T magazine under Stefano. So I launched both of those while I was there. And then I got the call from Vogue. And really the job was to monetize the CF Vogue Fashion Fund, the Met Ball, as well as create revenue streams for non-endemic business, so non-fashion and beauty advertisers, so more like automotive, liquor, which I had a background in because of advertising. So really, that's how I ended up dropping into these things. And I just, after Vogue, then went to Shopbop and Farfetch and, just kind of found my stride in that industry. But I don't think I ever intended to be in fashion.
Did you ever feel like you had imposter syndrome or maybe like you didn't feel as comfortable stepping into those spaces when you first started?
Yeah, I think one thing about me, and I've always been this way, when I look at a job, I always look at what can I bring to the table. And for me, all of these jobs had an angle, even though I didn't understand the industry completely, even in the job I have in now, there was a growth opportunity or something that I understood that I knew I could add value to immediately. So I was always comfortable because I knew even though I had to learn over here, I could do over here. So while I was learning, I was also doing. And I think that's always something that I look for in a job. I'm like, if I can do nothing in the beginning, I'm probably not going to take that job.
That's so interesting because I think about you talking about being in finance and numbers and, growth in sales. And even in whether you were working with cars, magazines, or even the fashion industry, that is your job. All of these things kind of come together as one. And that's kind of why you have that lens of like, oh, I know this, I see this branding part, but I also see the money part. And so you have like that crossover, which it is very rare. So that's pretty cool that you can do that.
Yeah, it's definitely been to my advantage, especially as, marketing has changed so much. It's now almost a data game, right? It used to be about, champagne and events. Now it's about customer acquisition and CRM and, more data-driven tactics.
All right. So I want to ask you about with Fashion Week coming up, and I saw you at the Met Ball. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's at the Met Ball. And I thought but I know your background. And I know that the Met Ball is supposed to be like partly a charity. But it's turned in, a lot of people don't know that, it's a charity, but it's also this fashion world. How did this come about? Because I've always been so curious about how the Met Ball works and where this money goes and how it's become what it is, because I know that you've been a part of it for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, the Met started long before all of our time, even Anna. Diana Vreeland, back when she was editor-in-chief of Vogue, started the Met. Actually, Andre writes about this in his book, and it was a fundraiser to show, for the Costume Institute, which is part of the Met. And it started out as a small dinner, with a select few, in the basement of the museum. And I think, Anna probably, when she came to Vogue, I think took it obviously to the next level. And I mean, while I worked there, I attended 7 Mets from 2000 while I was working there, and then obviously as a guest later on. But it actually raises a lot of money for the museum, for the Costume Institute, which is, really important part of history. especially in preserving all these amazing designers that, you may not know. I mean, I think what I look forward to most is the themes, because you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that person did that work, or, I never knew this genre, or, sometimes it's just one designer, and to see like, some of the houses and what they've accomplished is amazing. So it's definitely evolved, I think, more over the years to be, the spectacle and the red carpet. Because I remember when I first came, the red carpet wasn't even shown. You know what I mean? It was just like you saw, like when back in 2005, like there was no red carpet coverage. It was kind of like you saw the pictures the next day, you saw all your, favorite celebrities going in, but there was no like live coverage, and it wasn't live streamed anywhere. And, it's just definitely over the years become more of like an Oscars type situation.
It's a thing. Do you have a favorite? Like, is there a favorite for you that you're like, that one right there stands out?
I mean, let's see. There's been so many. The Comme des Garçons year, I mean, that's actually the year I went as a guest, just because I love Comme des Garçons. I thought was amazing. And I thought the exhibit was amazing that year. So I guess if I was going to pick a favorite, and it was more, because, sometimes the themes are like superheroes, or which are a little more hard to like, so I think for me, when it's more of a designer led theme, I probably enjoy it more, because you really can see into like, wow, that, look at all this amazing stuff. You know what it is. And like, I mean, Comme des Garçons is so theatrical that it's kind of,
Do you have a moment where you fanned out, like where you met someone and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm such a fan, like in your head, or maybe you told them, I don't know. Do you have any of those moments?
One year at the Met, my job was to shadow Oprah. And, I had obviously met her, through other, but, but like literally my whole job that night was to be with Oprah and like, whatever she needed, and like kind of, and I think, just like even like sitting in the green room, in between things that we were supposed to do, and talking to her, and just like, I don't know. I mean, I think I was like, still like in my 30s at the time. So I think I was like, I was just sitting there like taking it all in. Like, I'm like, I know she was like, okay, did you hear what I just asked you? I'm like, oh yeah, let me go do that.
In her Oprah voice.
Yeah. But I feel like that was probably definitely one of the highlights.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit, because I want to go back to, I know you said Google has the Black-owned business badge and things of that nature, but what do you see as the biggest challenge or opportunity facing like Black businesses, Black culture and stuff in the fashion industry, but specifically e-commerce?
I mean, I think first probably funding, like lack of funding, for business to really thrive and grow, especially as an e-commerce business, it's hard to do that just on profit or revenue, right? Because you have to invest in, a good digital platform. You have to invest in being able to, buy traffic on that platform, and, do all the things that make a business thrive online. And I feel like, with some social media platforms, people have been able to do some things, but it only goes so far. I mean, the great thing about Google, though, is that we actually do have a lot of free tools for businesses to use to grow their business. And that's why, we try to be so instrumental in doing things like the partnership with the Pledge, because people just don't know, because they could be doing more, but maybe they just don't know. So being able to take advantage of a lot of these Google free tools is important, because it helps you be predictive and do a lot more analysis and understand your customer and a lot of that stuff. So I think definitely lack of funding is one thing. And then I think going towards the second one, I would probably say it's just a lack of mentorship and knowledge. Like, I feel like there's so many programs out here for everyone they take, but I think again, like a lot of people just don't know. Like we start doing these, classes for these days. They're like, oh, I never knew that. While, I feel like a lot of people just inherently or just have, people on their team or, that know how to do this. So I think just like the lack of knowledge, mentorship, and just, understanding and people guiding you towards, this is how your supply chain can be better. This is how you can make yourself, more visible online. your cost structure here. Just, I think it's just, those two things together make it really hard. And, Beth Ann Hardison, she started the Designers Hub with CFDA, which, she was really great. She pulled me in to help in the beginning. And I think when we were talking to a lot of the designers in the beginning, it was all about like, how do I get funding, and then just like getting on the phone with a lot of them, just like, mentoring and just teaching them like, okay, you can do this, you can do that. Because, a lot of them just didn't know.
Yeah, I think that's the same. And even when I think about Google, as to someone that's shopping on there, even when you're telling me the different things, I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I know that you're kind of I know you aren't the end merchant, but, to shopping, but you're kind of like the connector, right? So it's like, how do I connect all of these things?
Yay, I'm glad you got that. Yeah.
But how do I make this, work for both sides and connect these people so that they can both continue to keep growing, and then I can tell Tia can tell the next person, so on and so forth, right? I think it's hard to figure out where to go and what to do. You know what I mean? In those instances.
Yeah. I mean, part of that is my job to make it clearer. So hopefully in the coming months, it will be clear. But I think a big part of Google's, kind of like, I guess, mission is the ecosystem, right? It's like, without merchants, without strong merchants, there's nowhere for consumers to shop. And without bringing consumers to merchants, merchants can't grow. So I think we see ourselves as a conduit on both sides. It's like, how do we really help merchants, like, get ahead, be more knowledgeable about their business and grow? And then for consumers like us, like, how do we help them, find the things they need easily and be able to shop the way they want to shop? So if it's Black owned or women owned or prices, or, you want to read reviews, like we try and offer everything to, like you said, so that you find, if you want to check out on Saks or Nordstrom or Walmart, that's great. But now you've got the best of, what you need to buy.
Yeah. And it's a crossover, right? So like when you're talking about shopping, I don't know, maybe it is clothes, but then there's also fashion. And there's also beauty, people. I'm that person that like has all these windows open, right? I'm like, I start here in fashion, and then I'm looking at beauty stuff over here. And then I'm liking this home decor over here.
Listen, I have 124 tabs open on my phone right now that I'm like, okay, I need
Oh my God, there's a tool for you coming soon on Google that will remember all your tabs. So like, how like if you used to close them and then, so this is going to be great for you.
You know what? So I'm not new to the Chrome realm, but I've been using it a lot more. It's really because of Riverside, but I tell you, being able to pin and categorize my stuff. Okay, I got my home decor here. I got the kids' school stuff here. Like those tools are outstanding for organization.
No, they're helpful. Yeah, they really are. Like even before I came to work here, I didn't know either. So that's when I was like, oh, I see why I have this job now. Because as I started kind of even researching for the job, I was like, oh my God, there's like all this amazing stuff. So I think people understand they're searching when they're on Google, but some of them don't know all the great, things that we have to offer to help shop. So that's something, hopefully, as the experience keeps growing, getting better, you'll find out more and more.
Okay. So I know that you have the stars, right? You have the stars that you're campaigning with, you're doing things with. Do you guys work in the influencer world as far as like teaching them so that they can then teach their followers? Like, have you been working on something specifically towards that, or?
Yeah, so that's something we're definitely doing more of. So you'll see, we just actually launched Shop with Google Instagram, like literally just launched.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, it's like new, but you'll see that there's definitely influencers on there with like some hacks on how to shop different categories. So from beauty to home. We've also done some cool partnerships. We just did one with Apartment Therapy where everything on their house tours are shoppable. So now you'll see the little Google tag and you'll be able to shop all of the things. So we're trying to be a little more democratic. So working with influencers in different categories,
I would love
doing
to do
a lot
that.
more in social. Yeah. It's actually really helpful. So, and doing some partnerships that just gets Google shopping out there.
because I love shopping, obviously. I love fashion. I love home decor, but it would be dope to like say, record something and then somehow I can pin it and people can just click it and be like, I like that. Atoya has, that's pretty cool.
And having it within app is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know YouTube was too. Okay. So that's good to know. So we're learning here with you guys. If you guys are listening, like we're learning about all of this along with you, because I'm going to start using all of this. I love it. Okay. So let's back up just a little bit. I know Tia wanted to take it back. We're going to back up a little more and we're going to talk about like when you were younger. Like I know you said you went into finance, right? And do you have siblings? How did you decide? Because I know if I'm playing with my family and my siblings, there's no way I'm telling if they say, what do you want to do when you grow up? I didn't say I want to go into finance. I didn't even know what finance was. Let's be clear.
Oh, no. I was so not like, I don't know. I think my whole life has just been like, okay, now I need to do this. I literally wanted to be a dancer. So I took
there we go.
ballet. Yeah.
Pull it out.
Yeah.
Listen.
So I took ballet from when I was 5. I was like, I want to be a dancer. And a couple of the girls who, I was, took ballet with the whole time. A couple of the Black girls actually were going to go do dance in their colleges. And my dad was like, I grew up in Chicago. Yeah. So my dad was like, yeah, I'm paying for these schools. I'm not paying for this school. So if you want to go do this dancing, he's like, you're on your own. And I don't know, maybe like I always tell people it clearly wasn't my passion, because people who, really want to, you hear people who like, I quit school and worked 5 jobs and now I dance, or I'm a famous singer and it works for them. Clearly that was not my passion, because as soon as he wasn't paying for it, I was like, I'm applying to Michigan.
Like, moving on.
These schools.
Okay, Big
And I'm
Ten.
majoring in finance. Yep. So that's how that happened.
So you went from dancer to finance to fashion.
Yeah.
But it was clearly in her, because as soon as she assessed that, I got to figure out how to pay for this if I want to go into dance.
Yeah.
Like she had the financial seed there already.
And there are people, to your point, there are people that do. They're like, fine, I'm just going to move to LA and live with 7 people in an apartment and make it happen until it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why, and my dad tries to teach me quiet lessons. He's like, you're not that he didn't think I was good at it, because, my parents are very supportive, so I don't want to take this the wrong way. But I think he was like, yeah, you're not that good. Like, this is not going to be a professional journey. You need to go to school.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. So you know what? It was right. He was right.
Like sometimes, as a parent, you're like, okay, I don't want to crush your dreams, but we got to be real realistic around here.
Yeah. He's like, let me help you help yourself.
Okay, so tell us about the, yeah, exactly. So can you tell us a little bit about the organization you co-founded, the Fashion Tech Connects?
Yeah, sure. So my colleague and I, Stacey, who I started with, we met actually shortly after I started at Vogue. She was running events for Versace. And she was running marketing for Versace in the US. And we had a meeting about September issue. So the whole Vogue team marches over, the whole team at Versace marches over. And we're in a meeting of probably 20 people in the Versace conference room. And Stacey and I were literally the only 2 Black people there. And I'm like, oh, wow. So of course, we're like, after the meeting, like, hey, I'm like, I'm Stephanie, just started, la, la, la. And Stacey actually had been, she lived in Milan. She, fluent in Italian, worked at Ferragamo, moved back to the States and was working there. And, I was like, oh my God, she's so cool. She speaks Italian. So I'm like, we have to be friends. And so, I made her my friend. So, we became friends. But, I think over the years, as we all, she left Versace, went to Westfield. I moved to London for 6 years and was CMO of Farfetch. I think we just kept seeing that, we were either the only or one of very few. And, I think we also both got our jobs through networking and connections. Like it's not so easy to just get a job at Vogue or just get a job at some of these places. So when I got back from London in 17, we've been talking about doing this, but I think we were always trying to wait for like the grand gesture, like how do we get 50 companies and raise money? And I was like, Stacey, I think we just need to do this. So literally, Stacey built the site. We got, so she built the website. I was like, Vogue, Farfetch. I just went to all my old jobs and it's like, you need to give me an internship. And she did the same. And we started the first year with 5 jobs. We got like 300 applicants. Like I found this site like through that has like all the colleges nationally. And so, I just posted the jobs on there, and we had like all these people and we were like, oh my God, this is crazy. And this was way before George Floyd, anyone was really doing anything. So no one was reaching out to these people. And so we wanted it to be for women of color, for universities. And the first year we had people from Howard, Spelman, but also Harvard, like all schools. And we had our first 5 girls. And then just through networking, the next year Gucci came on and Tory Burch and, so it's just been, Stitch Fix and the jobs on there are from like developers, e-commerce people to marketing and PR. So, whether you're more of a tech person and, or coding, or if you're, in marketing or finance, actually I had an internship when I was at Wang. My student there was from Harvard, and she was actually, she ended up going to work for Deutsche Bank, but she worked for me in e-commerce for a summer and, just really loved it. So it's just giving exposure. I think also just giving people knowledge that there's more jobs in fashion outside of being a designer and a stylist.
Exactly. No, I was going to say we faced the same thing, like especially with the kids, and both of our husbands played in the NFL. That's the only job that people see, right? I'm like, there's a whole team behind getting those players to Sunday. So can you speak a little bit about some of those other roles? I know you were going there, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's I work, I was CMO of Farfetch, and there's a whole marketing department with social media, content, PR, communications, like corporate communications, as you start, going towards more public companies, there's, operations. There's e-commerce with coders and, there's CRM. So there's a whole, there's finance, there's human resource. So there's like a vast, kind of network of jobs that people could have and be really intricately involved. There's also the whole merchant side, right? So there's, merchandising, and that's like supply chain related. So, helping, what factories are we going to be in? What are we using, this leather or this leather, counter sourcing to make sure, we're getting the best price. So there's like so many jobs. So we try and really introduce that side of the business. And this year we had people working at NFT and fashion. So one of the girls went and did it's called Meta Golden was the company, but they do NFTs, and then they actually make the jewelry, so you get a physical product when you buy the NFT. But so one of our interns was there. We had people at Richemont Group doing jewelry. So there's just so much for people to know.
So where do they go to find this? Because I know people are like, wait, what? This exists? I didn't know.
Yeah, it's called fashiontechconnects.com. And, there's summer internships. So we usually start posting them January. Because, most of the companies decide by March about their summer interns. So we'll post them, and then people have 2 months. We just require a brief essay and, some questions. And then Stacey and I interview everybody personally first. And I think the good thing about that is we're both, we've both been hiring managers. We've both been CEOs. So we know what companies are looking for. So we can just kind of give, really qualified candidates over.
Okay, you said you lived in London for 6 years?
Yes.
That is my favorite city.
Right? We love
it
London. See, we kind of got over there because of our husbands, but we made it, okay?
Yes.
And we were like, oh my gosh, this world is amazing. Yes. Talk about that.
I loved it there. Yes, I moved there for Farfetch. And it was funny because I went to Farfetch before anyone knew who it was.
And I love Farfetch, by the way. Don't tell my husband.
Yes, right. And actually, I sit on the board now, so it's come full circle. So it's been great. But I yeah, I took a chance. I remember actually, this is the power of networking. Condé Nast had invested $25 million in Farfetch. I had left Condé Nast at the time to work at Shopbop, but the head of investment called me and was like, "Oh, they're looking for someone to run the U.S. We think you would be good. You should interview." So I'm like, okay. So when I went to interview, at Shopbop, I had been running a lot of international. So I had a lot of time and experience in China, in Russia, in the Middle East. And they were like, oh, these are areas we're looking to expand to. We have a CMO job open, but you have to move to London. And at the time, I was like, I'm not moving to London. Like, this is not, I'm like, this is not, no, it's not possible. So, I kind of didn't follow up. But the owner, Jose Neves, the founder, came to New York and he's like, I just want to have a meeting. And I don't know if you ever, Jose can sell like dirt to within like 30 minutes, I was packing my bags. I called and I literally, like, from that day, I moved to London 30 days later. Like, we had the contract done. I was moving. Yeah. Yeah. So it was crazy. So yeah, I think I started interviewing in June. I stalled because I was like, I don't really want to move to, but then like he came and I think within 30 to 45 days I had moved. And it was a great experience. I mean, it was a true startup. When I went, I think there was 200 employees, maybe. And when I left, we had over 3,000 employees and offices in 9 countries. So while I was there, a lot of it had a lot of time in China, Russia, like Middle East, Sao Paulo, Tokyo. We opened 9 offices that we all had to figure out how to do that and what to do. And just the growing pains of a company that's really small that all of a sudden, not that it wasn't a real company, but now it's like, oh my God, we're like a real company. We need to, have different, look at this in a different way.
What's very interesting about that is when you talk about, the beginning, like you were there from the beginning, and to see things kind of grow into what they are now. I don't think people really have an idea of how small it starts to get to where it's going. Whether it's, not just with Farfetch, but with the business in general, it takes time. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's a slow burn and it's hard. I think, this is the time and, all kudos to all entrepreneurs, really. Like, everyone's always like, do you want to do your own thing? I'm like, we'll see, because, I've been with a lot of founders, and it's hard. Like, there were times, even though we had good capital, like we were running out of money and it's like, oh my God, our run rate's like 14 months. Like, what do we do? And it's just like about, being so, I used to have on my wall speed and agility. It's just about, getting to market as fast as you can, but also being agile because things change all the time. Like, you're pivoting so often. And things go wrong. Things go really wrong. And then all of a sudden things go really right, but you just have to be that person that, is super flexible, can manage ambiguity, and is just ready to pivot at any change and can handle, the really bad rejections, but, also knows that like, okay, we're doing it, but we're not going to spend too much time in our success. Now we got to move on. Because there's no time for like jazz, you got to keep it moving.
It's interesting that you said that because I just had this conversation with my husband. I worked in corporate America before I decided to be a stay-at-home mom. And growing up, that's all I like in my head. I'm like, I'm going to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company in some fit form or fashion. And now as I'm like discovering like, what does this next chapter look like for me? My husband's like, oh, start a business. And I'm looking around, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. Because number one, not everybody can be a business owner, but that's not the passion of everybody. You know what I'm saying?
It's just not for everybody. And, I fully admit, like, I feel like, one of my strengths is understanding people's goals and objectives and helping them achieve them. Like, if you tell me X, I can figure out the path there and get us there. Like Farfetch is great because I had a lot of equity in the company. So when it IPO'd, that was great for me. So I think, there's other ways to participate. other than, always having to be the owner, but, obviously making sure that you are participating, in some way when you do a startup, because otherwise, it might not materialize for a while. But I think if you make sure that you have the right things in place for, like, if this goes big, that you're, compensated. I think there's other ways to participate in entrepreneurship. It doesn't always have to be you being the owner.
That's actually I'm sure a lot of people are like, good to hear that.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a job.
Right. It is okay. Don't, people, you know how people are coming up with those memes like, don't listen to Beyonce. Don't quit y'all's jobs.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm going to say, I love Beyonce, love her, support her, but I'm like, I need my job.
Right. Real talk.
And social media had you thinking everybody's starting a business and it's successful tomorrow anyway. So.
Right. Real talk.
Yes. So not
I have a question about, like, your journey that, through everyone's journey, you talk about your accolades, right? You have amazing accolades. But there's a point in your life where maybe things didn't go as planned, or you hit, it was a low for you. And, from that low, you learned these life lessons. What would that be for you?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had a couple jobs where, maybe I should have been more careful about the culture and the fit. That, it was just like, maybe 3 months in, I was like, this was a mistake. And, it just wasn't the environment that I was going to thrive in. Like, there's certain things you need. I need space. I'm not good at being micromanaged. Obviously, I work for people and I'm okay with that. Like, I can take direction and I'm really good, but I like to be more collaborative. I can't be like told what to do every step of the way. Otherwise it just doesn't, I think I was more enamored of the job than maybe didn't do all the due diligence I should have. Also probably walked into a situation that wasn't what I thought it was. And I definitely learned from that, like, checks and balances are really important, especially when you're going into senior roles. You need to understand what you're getting into, understand the culture, understand how the person you're going to work for works and manages, because you don't really want to be in that position where you're like 3 months in, like, I mean, I need a new job.
I gotta go.
How's this gonna look? Yeah. But then it's like, how's this going to look? And have I stayed too long? Or what are people going to say? And, there's that. And then I got a hard lesson a few years back. And this is where I said, everybody's replaceable and we should all understand that. And I think I got in my head that I wasn't, and that I was like, I'm doing really well. And that's not true, and you have to stay humble. And, you can't get too ahead of yourself and, think that, like, you start to get this, because when you start doing really well, it is kind of, you start getting,
you want to celebrate it.
You want to celebrate, and you're like, and I'm going to do this. And then suddenly you're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe everyone's not feeling the same way. So, being very self-aware, and understanding, like, your impact and how it's coming off and how you're coming off is super important. Like, you can't have blinders. But those are 2 times where I was just really like, okay, I've gotten myself into, like, a situation that I need to get out of.
What would you say your a failure that you had, either professional or personal, that you would be most proud of? Like, it happened and maybe it was like, ugh, but you were actually proud of it or glad that it happened.
Yeah, I would say probably when I was at Vogue, I took someone's, we were negotiating a movie. And the person who was starring the movie was on the cover. And we were going to do a party with the designer, who had designed some of the clothing for the movie. We're going to do this big party. And, the celebrity was going to show up and it's going to be all this stuff. And, I was really good friends at that point with everybody's agent. And, I thought, friends. So I took their word for something. And all of a sudden, the whole deal went apart. It was really bad for me because, I got called into Anna's office. It was bad because now the CEO of this, fashion company was pissed because they thought they were doing these amazing events that weren't going to happen. And it was just really bad. And I think why I'm most proud of that.
Was it more of a celebrity appearance?
It was an appearance, but there was more stuff that was going to happen at the event. And it was just like, fashion people have big egos. And when you start talking about something and then it doesn't happen, that's a problem. And this was my fault. I own this. This was my fault. I didn't get the proper paperwork in place. But I think why I'm most proud of it is because I went in and, usually when people start asking you like, what happened, you start to blame other people. And I was just like, this was my fault. I'm like, I own this. I didn't do this properly. I should have done better. And I don't have anything else to say. And literally everyone in the room looked at me and they were like, okay. Like it was just like, I think if I got and started making excuses, like it would have been so much worse. But like, I was just like, I don't really have an excuse. I don't have an excuse. It was my fault. So I'm like, and I told him, I was like, I don't have an excuse. This is my fault. So I'm just, here we are. I'm like, we can try and do other things. So it probably is not going to happen. So this is where we are. And that taught me a lesson in accountability. And like, going forward, I never made excuses for anything that was my fault, and like, I own everything and I encourage like my team and everyone, like, if you just do it, own it. Sometimes we can fix it. Sometimes we can't, but it's just, don't try and pass it off on other people. And so I think I'm most proud of that moment because it was a good moment for me. Like the reaction when I left was like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm going to start owning up to my mistakes. Yeah. Like things I didn't do. Yeah. And stop. Because usually my MO would have been like, so this person didn't do that,
You're probably like, I can't think of anything. I don't have anybody to blame. I'm going to have to just take this L.
I really didn't. I was like, I was trying to think of what I was going to say because the good thing about being good at PR is I can spin almost anything. So I was like, ready to get my story. I was just like, I got nothing. So
I love that.
So last question before we let you go, Stephanie, what is next for you?
It's like everyone's question. I don't know. Let's see. I have always been like a little bit of a fly by the seat of my pants. I mean, not that I don't have a plan, obviously.
But you're able to pivot.
But, I'm able to pivot. I do have a couple ideas that I'm noodling around in in a couple of I'm really big on health and fitness and, that kind of thing. So, I have a couple things that I'm noodling around there. I will say, like, I just started this job and there's so much to do. So I feel like, I'm that person who I want to see it grow and I want to see it go. So I think I'll be doing this until that happens, which, let's see how long that takes. But I do love the opportunity of being able to take something that really doesn't exist and then see it exist. And, we have an amazing product team who's building all these really great tools for shopping. On the merchant and on the consumer side. So really excited to see what they build and how, we can help shape and form that. But
how many teams are you a part of?
A lot. So this is a big cross-functional, there's
it is. Okay.
Yeah, there's a big cross. I think the closest teams, like we do have, the product team is the one who built everything that you see. So I work very closely with the consumer product merchant team and the merchant product team. I have my marketing team. There's a B2B marketing team. So there's lots of teams working on making this happen, which is great. But I would say ultimately, a few years down the road, I think, like I said, the health, wellness, fitness is really something. My mom's really into it. She'd been into it. So I think it may be something in that realm.
Yeah, and you're very fit. If y'all haven't seen Stephanie, she's very fit. Always looks cute in her amazing outfit.
I do love. I'm in the right job. I love shopping.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Okay, if anyone wants to reach out to you, because I know they'll probably have questions or want to know more, where can they find you?
They can find me. I'm on Instagram and on Facebook. My handle on both, I'm a James Bond fan, so I'm S Horton 007.
Love it. Love it.
Absolutely
that is
love
too
it.
cute.
I'll make sure we put links to that in our show notes as well.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. We really enjoyed our talk with you.
No, this was so fun. Thank you guys so much.
All right. And I'm going to call you because we're going to Fashion Week, girl. We're gonna
Yes,
have some
let's go. Let's go.
fun. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had such a fun time with Stephanie on there. She broke so many things down. I can't wait to see what Google rolls out next.
Absolutely. And I want to have her back on just to talk more about her career path in general, because she spoke a lot about networking, which we always hear. But I think it'll be good for our listeners to get a better understanding of, one, how to network, right? But then number two, like, she's had some really cool jobs working with some dope brands that we see every day and we get excited about, right? And so outside of her internship, like, we have people that are working on their second and third careers. Like, how do they get into it? Like, how does someone get a job at Vogue now? Or how does someone get a job at even Google now? I think we can expand upon that conversation, but she's dope.
Absolutely.
She's super
She
dope.
is. It was such a pleasure having her on, and I look forward to having her on again. So,
You know what? I got an idea, Toya.
uh-oh, what's up?
London Fashion Week. We should go. And I'm sure Google is going to have a presence. We can make this a whole thing, because I'm sure she know all the places to check out. We can check out Fashion Week.
Oh, she knows everything.
Yeah.
Stephanie's our girl. If we want to do anything in fashion, we will definitely be hitting her up.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's our show. For the latest on the Inside Lines podcast, make sure to follow us at Inside Lines Podcast on both Instagram and Facebook.
And don't forget, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, if you have topics you want us to cover, guests you want us to have on, or asking for a friend questions, make sure you leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/insidelines. And check out our website, insidelinespodcast.com, where you can listen to your favorite episodes or share with your friends.
Until then, leave it all out on the field. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.